fact, we all know it, that it's a global pandemic. Countries themselves, who seemingly thought they were over the effect, have now gone into lockdown again. We've seen significant economies fall. Ours is but a drop in that ocean. And I think that it's about time that businesses now realize that proactive means collaboration. It means accepting that you are at risk, that you are vulnerable, and that your operational or financial standpoints need to be decisive in order to mitigate against any further issues and losses in business. Next slide, please. So we've said it before, and I'll say it again, most small businesses have actually been the ones that are the victims on hand. In as much as we've requested landlords and other parties to come to the table, reduce rentals, I've only known of one big boy in town that has actually reduced rentals, and that's Coastlands. Thank you to him. Typically, this leaves the owner facing three choices: walk away, and face financial ruin, hope for someone to fly to their rescue and bail out the business in trouble, or simply battle on. Thus far, I've seen most businesses battle on. I think their resilience has been largely as a result of the fact that they came from nothing. So to go back to nothing doesn't scare them. But this really works. Worse, far too many businesses are of the belief that a quick cash injection, cashing out your policies, cashing out your investments is going to save your business. But I think that's not it. It's not just about the cash effect. It's about the cause. To add to the owner's woes, I think what has happened is there's been a running out of time. He has not acted swiftly. He left troubled areas hoping for the best. And because there's very little margin for error, he's not realized the fact that he should have seen and forecast, built this into his business continuity and disaster recovery plan. I think with a clear and defined business strategy turnaround plan, which requires all experts, and if you don't have those experts, go to people that you believe do. Redo your market studies. It can show that you are able to survive, maybe not in a framework where you were as large as you potentially were, but you could start again. I think that's very important for the future. And next slide, please. Between a business plan and a turnaround plan, and I think that's important. A business turnaround plan is not your typical business plan. It's not going back to basics and saying, well, I've had X, Y, and Z objectives, and these are the objectives that I need to meet in this time. I think the actions now of a shorter time frame, at most it should be 90 days. Your strategies that were long-term need to be restructured. It requires real and on-time monitoring. As the executive of my organization and as CEO of my group, I myself get up every morning and relook at my business and relook at the turnaround plan. But it also requires truth and transparency with your bankers and stakeholders. Running away from what the analytical data is showing us is bluffing yourself. Do the research, understand the kind of financial and emotional stress it's going to place on you, and then gear yourself for it. I think that's also very important. As women, it's not that we're weak. I think we're a lot more emotive, and the emotive side means that the stress is far more prevalent. Let the intelligent side of us take over. Please, I implore you, go back to basics, go back to your books. Again, if you don't know who to go to, ask for help. Go to your bank. They are far more willing to listen than you think. Next slide, please. So what is important? I think the first thing is to stop the bleeding. Relook at your cash flow. You need to have a rapid diagnostic assessment on it. Look at your forecast and your liquidity. Relook at your financing, and if there's government aid, access it. Most importantly, manage your key stakeholders, your customers, your suppliers, your banks, your regulator. Control of cash is one thing, but disclosure of that to all your stakeholders is of paramount importance to maintain integrity in business. Then perform a clear data analysis. Identify what are the underlying drivers for your current situation. Understand whether you have any room for opportunity. And if you don't, then there are complex decisions that need to be made. Initiate a regular communication plan with your stakeholders. And I'll keep saying, we seem to have some background noise. Thank you. I think developing, if we could go back one more, please. I think developing a restructuring plan requires all stakeholders to sit around a table. If you have to implement a new capital arrangement, do so. But look at executions like merger, and if needs be, closure of a business that is non-performing. The benefits will be realized in terms of cash on your restructuring. Have milestones. I think that's very important. Milestones at least give you a way forward. It's not as if you get up every day and hope for the best. You can at least measure your own performance, your own deliverables. Next slide, please. I think not everybody understands a turnaround plan and knows what their role in it is. So I keep saying, go to your stakeholders and ask for help. They will help you get to the root of the problem, and they will help you identify where the crisis is. Business failure is really due to one single cause. There's a multiple set of causes, both internal and external. And unless you acknowledge that, you are going to continue to fail. Restructure your vision and mission around this new turnaround plan. Because right now, to say to yourself, I'm still going to achieve what I wanted to do, I'm still going to get there, means that you're living in the past and not in the future. Cash is king and is the lifeblood of the business. Have someone that has good cash control. I have an outstanding CFO and a COO who maintains and ensures that what needs to come in does. And I'm also vicious and violent and draconian-like when it comes to people owing me money. So be rest assured, don't be embarrassed to pick up the phone and tell your customers enough is enough. It's time you started playing your part, and cut off the bleeding when you have to. Next slide, please. So on business restructuring, I think the first thing we need to look at is the financial management. We want to increase profitability, but we also want to stabilize the business. Improve your working capital if you have to. Look at what you currently have and ask for what you can against it. Reduce your operating costs. You don't need to have a 9,000 Rand Valpre water bill. Water out of our tap is good enough. It's as simple as that. Insurance policies that are not paying out or non-performing needs to be cut out. Restructure your outstanding debt collections and please make sure you have credit guarantee in place. Reevaluate your products and services and your pricing to make sure that you market competitive. You need to find an art of differentiation. Implement a sales turnaround. The one thing I have realized is that we have a great sales team, a team that's willing to do everything. The one thing that has made us very competitive is everybody knows what everybody else does, which means business continuity is easy. But make sure you also reevaluate your business image and reevaluate your employees. Those that are non-performing need to be told so. If you have to cut out certain individuals, you have no choice. Those are hard decisions, but it has to be done. And like I said, please restructure your protection policies. Forecasting is important. It's important because it'll show you on a day-to-day basis where you need to be and how you need to get there. Above everything else, execute that forecast. Success is won or lost through execution of a turnaround plan. Many business owners get past the crisis, sue their creditors, restore positive cash flow, and then fail to execute the turnaround plan. Subsequently, the wheels start coming off again. So I think it's important you understand. One day may be good, but the next day is going to be bad. So every day requires real and on-time participation. Next slide, please. How to use your turnaround plan. It's simple. It's a systematic process. It requires assistance of everybody in the organization. Share it with everybody. Disclosure makes it easier to manage. Critical decisions involve those in your organization. So it's important they're aware of it. Formulate the correct strategy and get in an expert that will help you get back on track. Correct it if it's failing. It is more important to keep in mind that perfect information is not always available. Sometimes you have to rely on what there is. And when you know that it's not good enough, trust your gut. Go out there and look again. The sum of a lifetime of experience can guide a very good decision. And I've always believed that my gut talks to me. My inner voice has worked to date, and I will continue to listen to it. When you've completed the process and you've completed the various strategies, and it looks like you have a concise summary, then start writing the plan in a simple, straightforward way so that everybody understands it. Most importantly, be orderly in your approach. Have a big picture and correct whenever you make a mistake. Revise daily. It allows you to validate that you're not always right. And it is more important that you have something written as opposed to in your head. A well-researched document can never be underestimated. Next slide, please. So do you have what it takes? Business is complex. Chances are, as an entrepreneur, you always have certain risks, and you will take them. But do you have the skills and do you have the leadership qualities? If you don't, you better get them. Business failure is demoralizing. We all know that. But what goes up must come down. It is important to build your self-esteem. Be professional. Your feelings will sometimes get the better of you. Lean in and lean on others. Rely on your entrepreneurial qualities, but be motivated for a long haul. Be inspiring as a leader. It's never easy. I get up daily and I think, so what's my message today? How do I build the morale of the organization? Addressing concerns, it's not a big win. It's a small win, but it at least encourages others to believe that you are just as human and that you are there to help them improve themselves, not just the business. Be clear-headed and decisive. There is no time to waste, and be prepared to be unpopular. Take the necessary steps. Be completely objective, and it's never easy. So go to your mentor and ask for help. Most importantly, be prepared to do things differently. Be prepared for a new way of life. Maintain a positive outlook and be self-confident. If you have to, be aggressive. The time will come. It'll come. New opportunities will exist. Most importantly, make everything urgent. Nothing can wait for tomorrow. Next slide, please. So again, I said, open your eyes and look at everything with a fresh pair of eyes. Be prepared to do things differently. Be positive and self-confident, and I repeat, be aggressive. There's opportunity everywhere. Don't close your eyes to that. Pursue them. As long as you pursue them with urgency, you will succeed. Next slide, please. You need to make sure that whilst everybody reads this turnaround plan, they understand their role in it. And everybody is a new leader, a new learner. You will have to change your product mix, and you will certainly have to change your service mix. You will have to withdraw from certain markets and target different markets. Your people mix may change. Certainly, your entire business will change. But you need to know where you want to go to. And in order to get there successfully, it means that you have to review where you're coming from and how you're going to get to where you want to go. Next slide, please. I always say it's important to talk to your stakeholders. Your creditors are most important. They've believed in you. They've banked you. Talk to them daily. Don't be afraid. Your family and friends ought to know where you stand right now. It is important to get the cooperation of everybody. A company like Sasol stood by me when I needed them. A company like Nedbank stood by me when I needed them, as well as Puma and an engine. The only reason they stood there is because I communicated transparently and authentically. And it is important to continue to do so. No news is good news right now. Everything will be bad, but you rather tell your stakeholder exactly what is going on. The more you do, the stronger the confidence will be in you. They may no longer trust everything you say, but you have to start rebuilding that confidence. And through being clear on your communication lines, through talking daily, you will grow. The good news is that you have a vested interest in the survival of your business. It is your legacy. And it will return to profitability. The only way to regain trust is open communication, honesty, and at the same time, being realistic, not just being wishful. Next slide, please. A careful analysis of each stakeholder will bring certain questions. How are they affected by your sudden business decline? Will they have confidence in your ability to turn your business around? What must you do to rebuild their trust and confidence? What must you do to regain their support? Those are questions you should be asking your team. If you don't have the right answers, again, solicit the right advice. Ask people like me. Ask your banker. Go to your mentor. Don't sit back and wait. The answers will come, but you need to ask the right questions. Next slide, please. Your customers are very important, and their satisfaction remains at the forefront of everything. But typically, a customer themselves is seeing a decline, so quality will slip and service standards will fall. They will understand. The end result could be a loss of a precious customer, but it is important that you maintain communication with them as well. It's a small world out there, and what will set you apart is if you stick with your quality and your standards. No delivery is too big or too small. Do the best you can. Talk to your customer. Those that are loyal will support you. Even if they know you're on the brink of collapse, they will find a way. Especially customers that have stayed with you for a long time. As long as you have a sound plan and they know your correct state of affairs, they will support you. Without going into the detail, inform your customers of the temporary problem and how you're planning to correct it. Be reassuring and confident. Stay close to your customer and please continue to build bridges, don't burn them. Next slide, please. Know your tribe and thank them. Families first. It's emotional, I know. But my team at WOA has been my greatest asset, and I'm so grateful. Nedbank has stood by us. as well as Sasol and Engine, Puma, BPA, Transnet, both the pipeline rail, as well as TPT. Our legal eagles have stood by us. Companies have stayed invested in us. Companies like Toyota, Aspen stays, Unilever has stays, Olam continues to invest. EnviroServe continues to build bridges with us. Imperial does, Woodfood, as well as Coastlands. It's emotional, I know, but it ought to be said, without individuals like this, your tribe, you are nothing. So thank them and show appreciation. Next slide, please. Companies who nurture us, companies who make us look good, very rarely get thanked. Those are companies like ME Studio and Style Network. As women, we often portray this beautiful image, this confident exterior, and it is individuals like them that make us look this good. Our front line, our doctors in our team, Dr. Chetty, Dr. Rodriguez, Dr. Dino Patel, Dr. Kuar Prasad, and of course, Dr. Anushka Kuvadia all need to be thanked. They have stood with us through thick and thin, and I'm forever grateful to them. Next slide, please. So in the end, I'm saying, please treat your suppliers like partners. Suppliers will get nervous. Don't fight for them. If accounts are not paid on time, you're not jeopardizing your credit line if you talk to them. You're running the risk of not having a credit line if you apply draconian principles. Come up with a payment plan. Often business owners argue that they can use other suppliers. And now's the time you'll see them run, but not us. We will stay with those that have stood by us. Reestablishing trust is critical. Next slide, please. Again, I have said it before and I'll say it again. Transparent communication. Tell them what you need. Tell them what you want. Tell them how you intend to turn this business around. If you're going to be resilient, be forceful about it. And make sure you know what you're doing. Keep your finger on the pulse. Know your business inside out. Know your people. And it is okay to be emotional about it, but at the same time, communicate with them clearly and honestly at all times. Your best chance of survival is and to become profitable again is to talk to them. Next slide, please. This is a simple slide about creditors. I would leave it to you. I'm hoping you do share it with everybody else. We have split our creditors up. I think it's simple to understand who falls into which category. When a business is failing, the most vocal group is often the angry bank. But in our case, we've been lucky. We've had a bank that's been very supportive in reestablishing and keeping us open. We've also been very lucky because we've had loads of opportunity come our way. So I know we will survive. But again, please split your creditors. Those that are most important to you, keep that line of communication clear and open. Next slide, please. Steve Jobs saying, stay hungry, stay foolish. And I think that's so important. We will continue to stay hungry despite COVID, and we will continue to stay foolish. Foolish in the sense that we know we're going to survive this. Hungry in the sense that we have no choice, because the generation that's going to come after us is going to need hope, and we're that hope. So we ought not let them down. Next slide, please. So again, I have summarized for you very simply things that you ought to be looking in your turnaround plan. Garbage in is garbage out. Please don't fool yourself. Be as critical as you potentially can, real and accurate. Be genuine. Make sure you don't have any wishful thinking in it. Next slide, please. So it's simple. What we hate, we have to redo. And that means simply reassess your strengths, relook at your value, stay ahead of the competition, Keep your business turning around. Know what your weaknesses are. Detract from all other noise around us. Stay focused on what we want to achieve. You will have certain hindrances on your turnaround, but you have to overcome them. No opportunity is too big or too small. Grab everything. Know what your pitfalls are and build them. Once you've established your strength, your weaknesses and your opportunities and your threats, make use of the information. I've always said we tend to overlook this, but it is such a weakness in ourselves, because if we do relook at our SWOT, we are able to rebuild ourselves. Next slide, please. So how you think shapes your reality. I like this slide. Success is won or lost through execution. It is beautiful to have everything on paper, but please make it your Bible. The wheels will come off very quickly if you don't follow it. Crisis is going to be there. Stop responding to crisis. Stick to your turnaround strategy. Think long-term. Work on your forecasts. Be dramatic in your cost cutting. Even if it means you taking a salary cut, I would rather do so than go through a Section 189 process. Next slide, please. Make 2021 your year of miracles. It is entirely possible. As long as you're flexible, as long as you are not living under an illusion, as long as you collaborate and you compose yourself. Please make sure that you stick with the law. Keep yourself in line with regulations. Stay calm and in control. Be problem-solving orientated. Be resourceful and anticipate and plan. Your health is so important. Get sleep. It makes everything so much better. Somehow you can wake up and tomorrow you will fix things. Be persistent and be optimistic. Bounce back. Support people that support you. Maintain social context, but please keep your distance and manage perceptions. People want to believe what they want to believe about you. It is dangerous to allow it to continue. Update yourself on what's happening around you and ensure that you put out the right message. Stay true to who you are and stay positive. Next slide, please. So, I think I've come to the end of my presentation. I'm sure there's lots of questions. I hope there are.
Thank you so much, Priya. Thank you so much. And I just want to actually just bring to everybody's attention that Priya is doing this and she's given such a brilliant presentation, and she's not well. So Priya, again, thank you so much. Yes, she's unfortunately fallen victim, and she's almost over her period of isolation, and we really wish you well for the next couple of days. So there were a couple of things that stood out for me, and I know we're going to get to questions now, but you know, when you spoke about the understanding and knowing the difference, Priya, between a business plan and a turnaround plan, and for me, being in the space of entrepreneurial development and enterprise and supplier development, the thing that I find even pre-COVID, which really came out a lot in the last 6 months, was the lack of your initial business plan. So along came COVID, and where do we start? You know, and we're trying to turn around, but we don't have a reference point to go back to. Have you found, when you're engaging with businesses, have you found something like that?
Absolutely. I think your emerging and your startup enterprises very rarely do have a concise business plan. We're fortunate. We've always had one. So we have a 5-year view and we review it every year. and each of us have an LFA, which is linked to the deliverables of that plan. You do know we have several businesses. And for example, the insurance company that we'd started up, we had to review the current situation. Sastria was a big issue. We had to talk to individuals that were involved in all the danger and review the way in which we saw things happening. I think it is absolutely vital to ensure that if you don't have one, it's never too late. Start now. Put the basics together. Again, I find a lot of companies struggle. They seem to think that this is rocket science. It really isn't. You know what you want. You know how to get it. You know who to get it with. You know what you have. You know what you're missing. You know who you have a network. Seek advice. Go to those people that have built themselves. Talk to them. You'd be amazed at what they have to say. For one, I learned as Women in Logistics South Africa, I learned from East Rand Bulk how to set up and how to run. And I am grateful for companies like that. So go to others that have set themselves up and are successful. Ask them to assist you. They will. Toyota has taught me so much.
I think this, what you're saying brings me to my next point is the importance of mentorship. Because I think you know, I think as a country we don't focus on we don't make it a priority with small businesses especially, and with startups especially, we don't. Whereas with the rest of the world, they place a lot of emphasis on mentorship, especially in the early stages. And for us, the early stages is your first 3 years. So for me, it also highlighted how poor we are as a country in that. But also, do you think it is from us as startups or small businesses thinking we can do it in the beginning without that kind of assistance, until we reach the point where we think, oh, now I really do need to pick up the phone and make that call and have, because I know it really helped the businesses that I had on programs pre-COVID during the time, you know, where online, you know, the Zoom calls, all of that started. And we went through reevaluating the target market, for example, because COVID hit all of us. So your customer may no longer be your customer anymore.
Yes. I think whether we like it or not, CEDA still exists. They're there. They have the details. They have the market knowledge. Go back to them. You as Farah, you're a wealth of knowledge yourself. People can come to you and they can start. Let's not forget we have an investment and promotion center in this country. They help you with literally everything, including your market research. There are lots of grants available for entities that are struggling. And I think, please be proudly South African. Join Proudly South Africa. We're an organization that needs to keep our own economy churning. Buy local, sell local. Again, they have a massive database. We can learn to transact with each other. The threshold for joining them is not expensive anymore. There are so many organizations that we can go to learn. I think it's important. If we don't know who they are, then let's sit down, you and me, and we'll put that list together and share it with those that need help.
No, absolutely. I think so. And I also thought it was quite interesting when you spoke about getting hard on your customers and how and when you get paid.
Yes.
Because something that I also say in my workshops is you can fire a customer.
You can. It's a tough choice to make. You can. But please be 100% certain that when you do, you have credit guarantee in place. Again, so few organizations actually think about that. They think about the consequences. And firing a customer now, today, tomorrow, their situation may change. I think the first thing I would do is consult with the customer. It's most important. And if you have to make that hard change, well, then let's do so. I think it's very important to sit down and do so jointly. The one thing I've learned not to do is burn bridges. It came with a lot of time. There are some customers that you may have to let go of, customers that you can no longer carry. But when you part ways, please make sure it's done for the right reasons. Every customer, like we believe we can be turned around, they believe the same. So when you walk away, make pretty sure that they've explored all avenues. Don't see them as a customer, see them as a partner. If you can help, if there's a way to synergize, do so. They themselves have a lot of assets that you would need in your business. So there's so many ways to look at things. Be innovative in your approach as to how you deal with your customer. And that's what I'm encouraging.
Thank you, Priya. Can we go to questions now? Comments? Prof, do you have anything?
I just thank you so much, Priya. It was from a leadership and management perspective, I really, really enjoyed it because you spoke a lot about traits and characteristics that leaders need. And I especially picked up on courage. I think that was amazing. And just having that ability to make tough decisions. I think sometimes we tend to, I don't know, romanticize leadership, but you gave us a very authentic, real account about what it entails and just being on the ball and kind of having that strategic focus, but being grounded in that present moment as well. So I think that that was important. So, well, what do you think are the key leadership characteristics that are needed right now during the days of COVID?
Empathy.
Tell us a bit more.
I think place yourself in the shoes of others. It's not easy. I think it's also about courage and fortitude. And it's about, like you said, resilience. It's about perseverance. There are certain things that you do have to give up on. There's no doubt about it. But what is important is before you make that choice, make damn sure you've considered every single option. Most importantly, I think we've all forgotten the word spirituality. Every single leader is required to pray. There is a higher power, and we should be connecting with that higher power. We've all seemed to have forgotten that God does exist. And it is so important that we do connect with whoever it is we believe in and ask for answers, and it shall come. I have no doubt about that.
Yeah, I think that's such an important aspect because I think that's part of resilience as well. What's going to pull you through the difficult times? And often as leaders and managers, yeah, we're talking all the time, and sometimes we're putting on this. It's all about me, but I think you've just showed us that there's so much more to leadership, and we don't necessarily have all the answers, but we need to engage others. And you spoke about asking for help, and I think that's such a key lesson. Yeah, absolutely key.
It is. It is. And I think the one thing that I've realized is that our kids have become so entitled. They seem to be living in this la-la land where they believe that everything's normal, everything's still the same. As leaders, we ought to start educating them that things have changed, that they are going to also make sacrifices. I think it's important that we teach them humility and kindness and teach them how to share, because they've somehow forgotten that. There were the days when I shared my cousin's shoes, and there was nothing wrong with that. There were the days when I worked 3 jobs. There was nothing wrong with that. Our kids need to be taught to go back to basics. They need to understand. I know it's hard out there. I know it's tough. We can protect them, but we also need to educate them to be tougher because there's a lot more coming. And unless we change their mindset and make them realize that nothing is a privilege anymore or a right, that you have to earn it, we're really not going to change the future of this country.
Priya, what is your take on the whole digital space now? And have you had to go digital in any one of your companies?
I think if you're not digital, you're naive. I'm of the view, and I am grateful to some of my partners like TFN that have come on board, that have taught us how to have the right platforms in place. The one thing about being digital is the data that you can extrapolate, the information that you gain is real and on time. It also gives the customer the ease of reference, and it creates the ability for them to be mobile. Apart from just that, if you were not exploring the digital field, then you're already far behind in your business plan and in your turnaround strategy. 4IR is here. There's a lot of changes coming. There's a lot of things that are going to be different. I think you have to educate yourself on it. If you don't understand it, don't be afraid to ask, what is it about? Involve yourself in it. Your kids know so much more than you do when it comes to digital stuff, especially apps and how to make it easy for your business itself. Talk to them about that. I'm sure they will educate you.
Thanks, Priya. So can I just go to everybody? Kunzeka, Dawn, Amanda, do you guys have any questions? Is there any comments you want to make for Priya? While we've got her. Amanda. Okay, so we've got some people that are shy, but that's okay. Priya, I just want to, I actually saw this only this morning, yes, that the Small Business Development Minister has gazetted the National Small Enterprise Amendment Bill.
Yes.
Do you think that's going to have, I mean, okay, it's going to take time, but do you think it's going to assist small businesses as much as we would like?
Policy, like everything, will always assist us, but we've got to be realistic. It's going to take time to implement, and it's going to take a lot more time to educate. I'm hoping that there's an easier way to roll out, that we have more platforms or more ways in which we can share how this is going to impact on your business. Small business is one thing, I agree. What I am finding that is lacking right now is the sustainability of large business. Large business is still your taxpayer, they still help your fiscus, they still control a lot of the employment in this country. And large business is being left behind. I think that we also need some policy changes around that. I think that we need to review how to assist them, in as much as we think that we are able to survive, we have the right workforce, we have the right policies, we have the right people. We also need government assistance. So yes, I'm glad that small business has started to now think ahead, and I'm glad the policy is there. I'm hoping that we educate small business on how to access it. And unlike all the funds that we've had in place, which has not been going to the right people, that this time it gets to those that really need it. I think that there has to be a proper monitoring and evaluation policy put in place. I think it's very important. So for now, the word is this. Small business is definitely one thing, emerging business is another, and all of us need help. But please, 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 government, do not forget your large enterprise. Support them as well. They need you.
Thank you, Priya. And I think okay, so I think that really gives us something to think about, because that you're hitting us now with it from a different angle, you know, because we sit and we think so much about the development and sustainability of small businesses, and we sometimes forget that the large businesses are really there to also pick those small businesses up and to help get them on the road.
Correct. And at the end of the day,
Sorry. I was going to ask a question when you finish saying.
Please go ahead.
Go ahead, Dawns, go ahead, no problem.
Thank you very much, Farah, and thank you, Priya, for being on the show today. I just want to ask Priya a question in that when you say there should be funding allocated to mid to corporate size businesses, when we look at the COVID situation, a lot of us in the mid and corporate sectors have made these applications to government. And I for one, have made an application. I'm mid corporate, but with all the bureaucracy and the amount of time that you needed to get through to the data and the information that they needed, you don't even get an acknowledgement, a reply as to where you are in the system. You can continuously phone them and ask them, where's your application in process, and you'll never get an answer. So I'm saying yes, there is a lot of pledge by the government, by the president, by the relevant departments from government. But what are we as the business forum doing to capacitate? I think we need to start capacitating government on how to handle this process, because it's absolutely frustrating that you want us in mid corporate to go out there and create the employment, reduce poverty, and bring in so many more jobs and capacitate the small business entrepreneurs. But how are we going to do this if government is not coming to our aid? I'd like a response from anyone, Priya, you as well.
I hear you, and I completely agree. I think we do have our progressive business forums. We do have multiple arms of government that are trying, but I completely concur with you. I think what we ought to do is sit down and find a way provincially to have a task team put together that identifies all the large players that are facing issues. And in your instance, I'm going to be quite frank, I'm aware of one big one. A site of yours needs to be developed, and it will create something like 150 jobs. You have been stopped from the process due to concerns that I really don't understand. You've approached me directly on it, and I have looked at it from a legal perspective. So I can't say anything but yes, I completely agree with you. Decisions are made on a short-term basis without long-term foresight of the impact it's going to have to the greater economy at the price of large business. I'm not saying that we have all the solutions. I'm saying what we ought to do is at least start listing them and have someone coordinate them. It is something that I will take up with the province. It is something that I intend to request and ask for. Currently, I've been quite vocal and verbose on the fact that I don't see businesses like ourselves being given the support needed in terms of addressing issues that are of material concern. But nonetheless, I pray and hope with the change in the structures, with the change in leadership, with the change in policy, we will find a way forward. But I concur that it has been no platform.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for your response.
Thanks, Dawns. There is an email address, and that is bmfkzn@bmfonline.coza. Please, if I can ask you, if you want the presentation, please email Bongiwe there, and we will get this presentation to you. But Dawns as well, if you can just send your details through. These are the kind of things, Priya, I think as the BMF, I think next year, some of these things we need to really sit down and plot a way forward. And we need to have the conversations a lot more than what we're having now. And I think everybody's, we're trying to crawl our way out of COVID and all of that. And there's talk of the second wave, which has hit us already, and it's probably going to hit us even harder Jan, Feb. But I think it doesn't stop us from having the conversations. So, until we know stories like these, and there are others that maybe not as grave, but it's still stories that we need to hear. And we need to have the conversation. So, Dawns, if you'd like to be part of that, please send your details through on that BMF KZN email address. And that's to everybody else so that we can send you the presentation as well. because I think there was a lot of information. Not everything you may be able to use now, but I think a lot of that information over the next 6 to 12 months is going to come in very, very handy in that presentation. So thanks, Dawn. Is there anybody else? Or Dawn, do you have another question? No. Okay. Yes, Priya, go ahead.
I do want to say one thing. My concern is as follows. In as much as we've raised, and it's not the BMF, I completely agree with you. BMF is very active and very, very thorough, as well as the Durban Chamber. And Nigel himself has championed a lot of issues. But we have a problem in the provincial side. And that is that the number of issues that we have, there are no defined timelines for resolution thereof. And I think that's important. We don't have the solutions to all the problems, but I think it would help the greater economy. What will help the province is at least a way forward, at least a dialogue, like you said, where we table it and then we have a person that we can go to resolve it. Currently, that's not available. And I can assure you, I've written to ministers, I've written to the president, I've written to the premier, I've written to MECs, and the MECs are really truly trying. But the problem is this, and it is genuine, and it ought to be said, that the priority is not there. It's just not given the priority. It's almost as if the smaller businesses and the issues of violence is the most important thing right now. Business sustainability and business continuity is the least most important thing in the province. And I think that has to be addressed as a matter of urgency.
I agree totally. Is there anybody else who wants to ask a question, a comment, anything, please? Now's the time. So Priya, I want to ask you a question around collaborations, because it's something that in my workshops with small businesses, I talk a lot about it, because not everybody is a competitor. In this time, how have you been able to collaborate? I'm sure you have. But for small businesses, how do we approach another business? And we say, listen, we used to be in competition, but we shouldn't be. So how should that conversation happen? Because it should happen. In my opinion, it should happen.
I think that collaboration only works if you have a willing party. Both parties have to be willing, and both parties have to be trustworthy and honest in what they want to collaborate on. More and more, I'm finding that there's a reluctance because of the positioning and the power. It's always a power play. So you're going to need a mediator. You're going to have an organization like a BMF that says, guys, if you do X and Y together, you're far more powerful and you're able to get it done at a cheaper, faster, more effective manner. The ability to collaborate on a one-to-one does not appear to be working, not to my mind. I've not found that to date. And a good example is platforms that have been set up, call it the BWA, all of these platforms that have been set up. We've not been able to achieve things because one, the funding was not readily available, and two, we did not have a mediator that could sit down and say, these are things that can work. So someone has to be in the center. I think that if as a BMF, you start your database and you ask people to please identify what their strengths are and where their weaknesses are, it becomes so much easier to match the two and to bring organizations together. Even as TISA, Trade Investment South Africa, I think that if they sit down and they say, okay, what is some of the things needed? Do you need land? Fine. You have the cargo? Great. There's a person that has the land, there's a person that has the cargo. Let's sit down and find a way together. We don't have that in this province. It does not exist.
You know,
Thanks.
can I come in?
Yes,
comment?
please.
Farah and Priya, your response with the collaboration is absolutely to the truth. So we want the BMF to take this up very, very strongly for us, because if there is not going to be collaboration in this economy of ours, it's still going to be the elitism or the corporates that will rule. So what happens is, in terms of collaboration, you will have a company that, for an example, let me say I'm in the transport sector, in the logistics sector, and you cannot collaborate with the mighty companies that are out there in terms of corporate nature, because for them it's a business transaction. And I'll just give you a simple example. So a lot of companies would want to associate with a corporate image, and then obviously give that contract to a corporate company. That corporate company, in turn, instead of collaborating with entrepreneurs and working together, they subcontract us. They see us as a statistic in terms of a subcontractor. And trust me, even in the logistics industry right now, the rates that we are running for are even lower than 50% of the rates that they are charging customers. And how can this be fair in an economy when we are all trying to put and meet to make it work?
Priya, is she still there?
I'm here. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
So what Jaeger is saying is 100% right. And it goes to the exact forefront of what I've been saying. Collaboration only works if you can grow your network, but there still has to be a mediator. And collaboration is an educational tool. Most people don't understand how it works. Most people are too afraid to embrace it. Collaboration saves a lot of money, but again, we don't have the person in between that can assist entities come together. And the problems can only be resolved if there is some kind of cohesion or an undeniable power of an organization like a BMF to bring us together.
You know that, Dawns, that, sorry, I'm calling you Dawns because that's what comes up. So comes up on your thing. That subcontracting is such a concern for me. Also in the construction sector, because you'll find that the subcontractor will get a subcontractor, and there's nothing that protects that little guy. So that subcontracting, I must admit, is really a concern for me. It's really a concern for me. I mean, like you say, but for me, it's that small guy that really, because there's no contract that helps him or binds him to the subcontractor. Do you have, Dawns, do you have any situations like that?
Yeah, well, it's the reality that we live in. It's a reality that we live in, and this exploitation has been since the advent of democracy. I mean, government is very well aware of it. What have they done about it? They've not come to the party. They've not assisted these people, and so the exploiters just continue to exploit.
That also comes from for a fact that the environment is not regulated. I think that the rates are not regulated. Organizations that have massive buying power just pull the rates at willy-nilly because they have the buying power, and it leads to a huge downfall in industry because they're obviously manipulating the market. I mean, you see it a lot in various sectors where, because they have the buying power, they can call their price. And I think it's about time that the industry is somewhat, it has someone that sits at the forefront of it and says, you know what, this cannot be done this way, because subcontracting, in a way, like we've called it a Department of Labor, you cannot subcontract labor, can you? It's no longer legal. So how is it that you can simply just subcontract work without having all the relevant legislation and approvals in place? It's very scary.
Oh, that is. Priya, I just want your take on this, and I just want to give the report that came out a couple of days ago on the impact of COVID on small businesses over the last five months. So I'm just going to highlight 2 reasons for closures, okay? And one of the reasons was that businesses had no more than 3 months cash reserves, and another was prior debt. Have you in your engagements with businesses that have been forced to close, are those 2 of the reasons? And I know there's many more reasons, but have you come across these 2, or any other reasons?
There's a few things I want to say. The first is aligned to what you had said, is that they had no business plan, because a business plan would have shown you that you had to have built cash reserves. The second is that it would have shown you that you had to build equity. The third is that your money is never your own. Your money is something that is utilized for the operation of your business. And a lot of these smaller businesses have tend to spend it as if it's their own bank account. Farah, for me to even log onto my own bank account, it is under extreme circumstances. I must be very sincere on that. My CFO controls that. I think that one of the other reasons is that we come from a historical nation where we will always be in debt. Let's be honest. 30 years of democracy has not meant that we suddenly all are cash flush. Most certainly, there are a few black diamonds. There are a few entrepreneurs and wealthy, historically wealthy individuals. But a lot of the smaller businesses will always be in debt. And it's almost as if that the choice is that this is completely disregarded. It's an assumption, and whether you live or die, well, then that's just it. But I think that government has to have a way in which to give us some kind of incentive to say, whether it's depreciation over a longer period of time, whether it's a further incentive in that type of business, whether it's incentive in that particular type of province, there has to be other ways to look at things. I think it's just short-sighted.
Thanks, Priya. Then your take on the other result was just 2 of the main reasons for businesses that sustain themselves and manage to come through the last 6 months. And one of the reasons was one owner business. The other was businesses older than 3 years. So businesses that are 3 years and more. What have you come across those? Or
I've come across a lot of owner businesses where they are sole proprietors that have closed. And it simply is the fact that they have no backup plan, no shareholders that are willing to invest in them and take a risk. The other is where there's businesses that are 3 years or more. They're ordinarily in soft skills, Farah. They're not in businesses that are hardcore skills. And the soft skills, I mean, the beauty industry, the tourism sector, those are businesses that have fallen really hard. So your manufacturing circle as well, it's fallen because the cost of commodity has increased dramatically and the cost of logistics has increased dramatically. So, and all the delays that we're experiencing on the roads and the congestion, which is through no fault of the powers that be, but rather through all the demonstrations and all the striking, has really cost business a lot of money. It's been a contributing factor to closure.
Okay, thanks, Priya. Anybody who wants to go and have a look at that report, you can find it on www.finfind.coza. That's FINFIND, finfind.coza for the full report. We're gonna just a few more minutes, and then we're gonna start wrapping up. You had a slide where
Sorry, Farah, I seem to be getting requests that people are not being let into the room. Is there someone that's requests that from individuals saying that they're sitting waiting to be let into the
waiting to be let in?
But
yes,
there's no one in the waiting room.
I'm not seeing that either.
Oh
I'm
dear.
not seeing anyone.
Because both Prof and Bongiwe have got access, so they're both not seeing.
Okay, I will respond accordingly. Maybe they can raise their question here. Thanks, Farah.
Okay. So you had a slide where you split the creditors, to split their creditors. Can a similar thing be done with debtors? Because and the reason I ask that is because sometimes, you know, in dealing with small businesses, is that they have really bad paying customers, and they don't want to let go. You know, they don't want to cut the cord, because, and my thing is, you know, the same way you split the creditors is like, if you're busy doing work for me and I pay you on invoice, are you now going to stop my work to take on somebody else's work who's going to pay you in 60 days? So do you think that is something that can also be done with debtors?
Absolutely. It's part of your turnaround strategy. You have to review the quality of your debtors, and you have to split them into different categories. That is a must.
Because I find that is also something that that was a major problem when COVID hit, was not understanding. And that's why for me, in all my trainings, I make sure I unpack that, because the lack of understanding of your debtor and your credit and a creditor. So it has hugely impacted on businesses over this COVID. And I think COVID brought to the fore all these holes that exist in running a small business. It really did. It brought all of this was really exposed for all of us, in small business. Is there any other?
I don't think it's just that. I think it's the nature of the spending spree of the consumer as well. I think that a consumer has to be educated to have a nature of saving. And it seems like even during COVID, I don't know if you've noticed it, but so many people have just been spending money like crazy. So we have to change the consumer mind. We have to have a saving nation, a saving mentality. The other thing is that, you know, the sad reality is this country hosts a lot of immigrants, and the very same immigrants pay a lot of taxes here and spend a lot of money here. And we have chosen to fight them. And we have then made ourselves an island. It worries me, Farah. What happens? What happens if suddenly they just stop spending? What happens then to us? Because at the end of the day, if we've run out of money to spend and we don't have anybody buying from us, what happens to South Africa? So I think the entire nation needs to pause, breathe, and realize that this is a symbiotic relationship, that we are all interdependent, and we've got to find a way to start talking to each other and not at each other.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you on that. And off this topic, but Priya, I think next year we need to have a discussion like this on the impact of our junk status, because it's not hitting home with small businesses. It's really not. And the thing that scares me is when a startup says to me, oh no, this junk status thing doesn't affect me.
You know what scares me, Farah? What scares me is when I have a friend that's sitting in London who says that this new expat tax has made her realize that she'd rather completely disinvest in South Africa. And I'm saying to her, what? Are you crazy? You have assets here. Surely you have a family here. You have to stay patriotic. I think that when we do things, it needs to be meted out and leveled out in a way that it eases the mind of the foreign direct investor, including our expats, where they are not suddenly so afraid that they're running from us. We need to do things in chunks. I think that right now we're facing such harsh ramifications in business. We really don't need our foreign direct investors to pull out.
Thanks, Priya. Thanks. Prof, anything from you?
No, I think it was just a very engaging discussion. I think also bringing through the job of a leader or manager and just how challenging it has become. There's so many aspects of business that you've got to keep your eye on. And I think Priya just really gave us it is like management 101. So I really appreciated it. And just also like how leaders need to be, their traits, their characteristics. And you're not working alone. Yeah, you need to collaborate. You need to be working with others and just constantly the SWOT analysis, constantly reassessing. So thank you, Priya.
It has been my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me to this discussion, and I look forward to working with BMF in the future. Thank you again, Farah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to just go around. Dawns, Amanda, Linda, Konzeka, Bongiwe, do you have a comment? Anything? Not necessarily a question.
Guys, I just want to say, I want to place on record categorically my sincere thanks and appreciation to the entire team. And I hope that the engagement and the resolutions that we want to take forward will speeden quite sincerely, in that it will start making a difference to the economy and also start making a difference to the people that need it the most. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Is there anybody else?
Hello.
Hey, hello. Yes.
Hi. Konzeka here.
Yes, go ahead.
It's just a comment for me. I've joined a bit late in the presentation, but I've had quite a mouthful from Dr. Pria, from Pria Hassan. It's very interesting to hear, as an entrepreneur. I'm a new entrepreneur, and I'm still trying to navigate. And it's even worse for me that I started my business just close to COVID. So I'm still trying to navigate, but it's interesting to hear that there are opportunities for mentorship and all that. I think, yes, I did benefit from the presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Linda?
I've already expressed myself on the chat box. It's very exciting.
Oh.
My office in the legislature. Very excited to see Priya again. And thanks, Prof. What a beautiful, powerful presentation. How I wish I would have shared with my colleagues. And I think at the beginning of the year, Bones, we can have another one. Just to kick off 2021, look at how best we have done and look at how we can shape the future of our economy. Thanks, Priya. You always spot on. Prof, I can't thank you more. God bless you all.
Linda, thank you so much.
Thank you, Linda. And just from us, because as the chair of the Durban branch, it's important for me that we create the networks, we create the discussions, like we're having now, and we be open about them. Because if we're going to sit back and we're not going to want to talk about the things that are most heavy on our hearts, we're not going to go anywhere. We're really not going to go anywhere, and we're not going to get the help and the assistance from the right people and the right places to help us move forward. So yes, without a doubt, you're going to see a lot more of Priya on these platforms and Prof. And also because we need to mentor, you know, there's a real need to mentor. And I mean, not only the young people, but everybody, you know, everybody. And COVID also has resulted in a lot of people creating their little side hustles. And that's fine. That's fine. You know, if you've got a side hustle, that's fine. You can contact the BMF and ask for. And I mean, I mentor some of the members as well. So please, it's an organization that's open for that. You know, there's an open door policy to that. And we need our small businesses to move. We need everybody to be moving. Priya?
Farah, there's one thing I should have mentioned. It took 5 years, but believe it or not, we have a good few women shareholders that now have their own bank. I sit on that board.
I was hoping you were going to mention.
We're called Women Building Our Africa, and we are a Prudential Authority licensed institute. And I'm saying, as women, please let's invest in ourselves. So
yes,
if you want any information on that, you're welcome to please email me. We'll send you all the membership forms. And the purpose of that bank is to support emerging enterprises, support women in need. I'm sorry, Dawn, it's not that we're marginalizing any men. Of course, you're at liberty to send in an application form. But the idea is, if we cannot be helped, we ought to start helping ourselves. I think that's very important.
Absolutely. And it's for that very reason, Priya, and I mean, both you and Prof are aware of the committee within the branch, the ladies who lead committee. And that's the main reason for that was that as women, we need to march forward with one voice. We, you know, if it's a father somewhere in that corner and a Kunzeka trying to fight something in that corner, we're not going to get anywhere. And I'm very grateful to you, Priya, and to Prof, who've agreed to mentor us on that committee as well.
You're most welcome. There are a lot of founding members of that bank, and they all need to be acknowledged. But there's a long host of them. But Barney Moodley is the chair, and Bill Hakuna was one of the founders.
Now, Priya, I see there's a request. I have put Priya's website address is on there as well. But Priya, there's a request. Okay, your email address is on there. Again, to everybody, if you want the presentation, we don't have your details. So I'm really urging everybody to please go on and email Bongiwe so she can send you the presentation as well. So yes, so again, I'm just going to say we are so grateful, Priya, to you and to Prof. To you and to Prof. We've done quite a bit of work. We've done quite a bit of work coming out of COVID. We've tried to get as much information out to not only to our members but to the public in general about various topics. On Wednesday we had a very good one on technology and the digital marketing space for small businesses. So that was also interesting, and we learned a whole lot there. And I think it's again going back to what you said, Priya, and I preach it, is if we don't share, we're not, because we can't move alone. We can't move ahead alone, and we're not islands. We're gonna get nowhere. So if we don't share, and using these platforms now, we can actually get to more people this way. If we don't share, this country cannot move forward. We cannot. Absolutely. Because we need to learn from you. I mean, you would have made mistakes, learned from it over the 15 odd years and got back up. So we need to share those. They are best practices, and not just amongst us as women, but for general, anybody who's wanting to start a business. And Prof as well, you know, in terms of leadership. And it starts with leadership, you know. And I've been saying to small businesses as well, if for me, communication is so important when you're leading. Communication, like you said, Priya, in yours, in your presentation, stay in touch with your suppliers, your stakeholders, you know, good or bad, let them know that you're still there. It's the same thing I said to small businesses over this period. If it needs you got to go back to the drawing board. You have to go back to the drawing board. You have to put everything aside. You know, it's COVID hit. It hit us. It hit us really hard. But we got to put that aside now and say, where to from here?
COVID's not going to beat us. We're made them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Lots stronger dreams. We just need to come together. Farah, can I make a request? Can you please send me a link on this entire session, which I will load onto my website? And then I will also load the presentation onto my website so anybody can download it. And if there's any information you want me to share, please feel free to send it to me.
Will do. And I think also, Priya, if you don't mind, if you can also put my details, because I think over this period of December into Jan, I've said to people, talk to us, you know, because nothing's going to be happening. So you have a calmer time to sit down and really reflect over this year, 2020, and where you really want to go in 2021. You know, so although it's a festive season, I don't know how festive it's going to be for everyone, but you know, it's we need to get business moving, you know, and that's the reality of it all. So, Prof, do you want to
send the format? Sorry, send the format in which you want me to share, and I'm happy to share. And Prof, for you as well, please. We're so happy just to share your details.
Thank you so much, Priya. I've learned a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Priya, Prof, once again, thank you so much for all your support for most part of this year. I'm looking forward to your continued support as the chair. To our members, thank you so much, you know, for choosing the BMF, because we have options, you know, we have options. And to the members, I want to also say, you know, engage with us. Tell us exactly what it is you're looking for. And we know that people's needs have changed. So what are your needs right now? People have lost their jobs, so the need may not be in that professional space anymore. It may be in the entrepreneurial space. But, you know, we will design what we need to design around our members' needs. So on that note, again, thank you to everybody who's come on, who stayed on. And I think, Priya, we could have gone on a little bit long.
Have mercy on a COVID-infected person.
I know. So to everybody who stayed on, thank you so much. I want to wish everyone, if you're celebrating Christmas, Merry Christmas. I want to wish you everything. Stay safe with your loved ones and with your families. And let's just pray that 2021 is going to give us everything that we dreamed of and not a COVID.
And share your food, please. Share with everybody.
Thank you, Priya, everybody. Prof, take care. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Stay blessed.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. And we echo the same sentiments to all of y'all. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We look forward to your email, Dawn.
Take care. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Linda.
Bye-bye. God bless you, Nag.
Bye.